Welcome to the Inspired Evolution, and it is such a treat today. I'm super excited today. Hey, I'm bringing to you the vibes from Niall McInnes. Niall, how are you today, brother?
Good, Amrit. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Your ears doing all right with that intro?
Real good. I was preparing for it. Yeah.
Awesome. For those tuning in to Niall for the first time, Niall, he's a coach, yeah, and he's specializing in removing emotional constriction to allow the authentic self to shine through. He has a passion for the freedom created after stepping into uncomfortable situations. And he doesn't just preach this, he embodies this, from extreme sports to professional kickboxing, stand-up comedy, sleeping on the streets, fasting, silent retreats, and even pickup. His clearing sessions the theory is quite simple. They're based on two principles: taking responsibility for the problem that you're experiencing, and then finding gratitude for that exact problem. He works with people one-on-one, and he also has these amazing men's group retreats, which I had the privilege of being on one recently, maybe last year. And yeah, one of the most profound moments probably of my life came out of that retreat. I usually like to start the podcast on something lighthearted, but I think maybe we should just dive straight into that.
Cool.
Yeah. Welcome, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, what inspired you to start doing men's retreats? Let's just weave into that.
Yeah, I was thinking about this morning. I guess a lot of my whole path has been like creating masculinity or finding masculinity myself, to being sort of quite a feminine kind of kid, very anxious, and the inspiration came from, after going through a series of journeys I might go through later in the interview, but I went to a men's retreat of my own called the Mankind Project. The New Warrior program is their sort of weekend retreat. It's a coming of age ceremony for Western men going from boys to men, because it's most Indigenous cultures have some sort of boy to man initiation.
Yep.
And Western men have lost that. So
in a big way,
I went on. Yeah, in a big way. Yeah.
We have no coming of age ceremonies.
That's right, and I'm fascinated by this now, the coming of age ceremony. I'm out here in Central Australia now, and the Aboriginal Australians have, almost Australia-wide, have some sort of walkabout or things like that.
Yep.
And that was, I'd already done some sort of extreme sports stuff. That was after I'd had some kickboxing fights, professional kickboxing fights. I'd been bull riding for a while, so I'd been going through a bit of what I would call depression, which is a low state, and went along to this retreat and realised the fear associated with men dealing with the emotional fears of being vulnerable. That was the big thing for me. I realised that I could get on a bull or get in a ring fighting, but there's some pride in that for a man, because there's the tough guy thing that comes with it.
Yep.
Where when you're being vulnerable, there's not much in today's world that unless you're in these sorts of very supportive men's groups, there's not much that support there when you're being vulnerable. And so I found that was really, I just enjoyed going through the fear there. And I won't go into the things. It is kind of a somewhat secretive weekend, sort of keep it hidden so that you're not quite sure what's going to come up. The one I went on, you can find stuff on the internet, but I recommend for a lot of young guys who look kind of a bit sort of anxious or lost or not sure themselves. So that was the main reason. That one men's retreat that made me realise that I think it's important to have the physical things that challenge you physically, and then to have that emotional vulnerability as well for a man. That's being a real man, is having the courage to be vulnerable and authentic and step into your truth.
Yeah, wow. How long ago was the Mankind Project, and where did you do it?
I think it was 2004. I did it in Victoria. They have groups almost in every state, and all over the world. So I did it in kind of small sort of place south of Melbourne, south of Melbourne. I forget the name of the town, but you can go onto the Mankind website, and they do run one or two every year, all over the world. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And you touched on this, and I'd love to explore this, which is the coming of age ceremonies. Because I remember Like, I guess you turn 18 and it's like, yeah, I can legally drink now, and you just go out and get absolutely trashed and smash yourself into the gutter, I guess.
Yeah,
And then there's, the 21st that everyone sort of celebrates for some reason is, I don't know, like maybe that's just the American culture sort of infusing into ours. You're finally 21 and everybody throws a bit of a party. Um, but in terms of, those are just generally we're just toxifying ourselves, right? On these days, which are just like, yeah, I turned 18 or I turned 21, let's just get absolutely hammered. Um, and there's no real, I guess when you say coming of age ceremony, what I'm sort of feeling into is the idea of rites of passage. And like those rites of passage sort of being like a milestone in terms of an iteration on your state and your relationship with the world and who you are and your responsibilities, perhaps. Um, yeah. What's so? Can we have a chat about that? Tell us more about that.
well, the one thing that comes to mind is that I really noticed was this man can't play these people 18 to 80 years old,
Yeah.
and there were 75-year-old men who were fathers and grandfathers. Some of them have probably been to war.
Mm.
And they were saying in the open discussions, I've never had, the reason I'm here is I've never had someone say to me, now you're a man. Even though for me, maybe I was 25 or 26 when I went on this, I'm 27, but look at them, I thought, well, they'd have, you're a dad, that makes you a man, or you've been to war, that makes you a man, or your grandfather, definitely makes you a man. But for them, that was a personality crisis that I didn't realise, because he's this old guy who'd been through so much and was very
Mm.
strong in his character, had never had someone say, you're a man now, which wasn't something I was really yearning for, but I think, especially for the older generations, there's not as much information out and books available as we have today. And definitely, like I read a lot of books on these sort of stuff. But I think that's the main thing that surprised me was these older guys who've been through so much and never just had that opportunity to feel that transition and maybe still felt like a boy, and they'd have to do some more research. Like I would have liked to have spoken to a few more of them to find out what that felt like for them. But I guess it's like a change in belief systems of your responsibility, maybe, and but I mean, for me, I guess having a child to me is that's you becoming a man pretty quickly. Well, you may or may not become a man. And I suppose it really matters because you can have a kid and still not be a man about it.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You
yeah.
have to be learning either way.
But it is like a biological sort of stake in the ground, if you will.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. So, how does that pair into? Because I know when you were here, now you've been traveling around a lot, living in harsh environments like the centre of Australia. But when you were here, there was a lot of you're doing a lot of work as like specifically as a fear coach. So, how does that coming of age? I think you sort of alluded on that, but let's crystallize that a little bit. Just like how does that coming of age and the lack of like a ceremony for a man become then like the necessity for you to like position yourself as the fear coach? Like why fear, and what's that relationship with coming of age?
Yeah. Well, I think just for me, I realised pretty early that fear is the only thing that holds us back from what we want. Really, when you get down to the nuts and bolts, but mainly the fear of rejection more than anything, or a fear of failure. And if I do the long story of it, I sort of was very anxious. I was working on the mines in Western Australia, looking up to these dudes who were the tough miner guys, and I wanted to be more of a man, and I realised I wasn't them. So through it was there for a lot of years, but eventually decided, well, for me to be tough, which is what I wanted to be, I've got to go do stuff that scares me.
Yeah.
And so I got into me and a mate were living together. So when we had our breaks off together, we'd work away in the mines 2 weeks away, 1 week back. When we had our breaks together, we did like bungee jumping and skydiving and stuff and different. We said, a list of things to do, and then got into bull riding, which he'd done a little bit of as a younger guy. And that was sort of the start of really challenging my physical fears, and getting on the back of the bull still was the scariest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
But it gave me a perspective of how alive you are when you're that close to danger and death,
Mm.
and started maybe an unhealthy passion, I guess, for your adrenaline junkie thing, the quest of fear. But from there and those experiences with physical fear, and then getting into doing this mental retreat and having the fear of revealing a truth and sharing your secrets.
Yeah.
And then when I started a business, I just started a hypnotherapy business. I got into hypnotherapy and NLP training after my kickboxing fight, and then doing some public speaking to business marketing, I felt the same fear in my body as I did before I did my public speaking, I did before I wrote a book. And I thought, wow, this is crazy that this is that scary,
Yeah, one's completely
and
psychosomatic and one is actually like physically there,
really
intrinsic,
amazing. So that was the start of my my realizing that I'd seen both worlds, that both sides of this, most people won't get to go see, is a really modern person might be very open, vulnerable emotionally, but they won't. That person won't generally go to the other side as well. So I realized that they were very similar in the feeling you get, and it is completely just all in your head, and it all comes down to belief systems and stuff below it. And I think the reason it ties into the coming of age and what I've studied now is a really cool documentary about an Aussie guy's film called Boy to Man, based on this documentary, and all the different sort of initiations around the world that you could get to. He went to he goes to Africa and like, so I've done some research on them, and like there's guys in the Amazon who put their hands in gloves full of bullet ants. I think it's the most painful thing, if anything, on the planet.
Yeah, I think I saw Hamish and Andy do something.
So there's that. Last year, the idea of bungee jumping came from the coming of age ceremony for them, where they've got to choose their own vine and jump off a structure, and they're meant to hit the ground, but they're just trying to slow them down a bit. The Maasai warriors in Africa have to be circumcised with a sharp rock, and if they wince, they fail the initiation, can't get married, and then they've got to go. Traditionally, they have to go hunt a lion. So I think the male initiation always has a lot of danger or courage involved with it. And I guess in today's world, a lot of that is sort of negative. That's very macho culture, but I think it's very necessary for the modern man or any man to have the ability to step into fear, whether it's physical or whatever. That's really my idea of a real man, is to have the courage to go into, whether it's emotional or physical, to be able to step into it. And I think it's very powerful. It doesn't have to be used in a negative way, as in fighting or anything else or war, but to have that strength within yourself and the knowledge of yourself, you can stand up for yourself. And I think traditionally it came from standing up for your family and protecting them. That's a big part of it. So I think it's an important part for the modern day man to be able to tap into that courage and step into fear.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier as well. Is that like I was noticing that obviously you said in your journey you realized that to like embrace the masculine energy like in your life, it was to do stuff that scares you. And that definitely, as I heard that, I was like, like that's a very masculine way of looking at things, just organically. And then just continuing to cultivate that, I guess, is something that's really inspirational about yourself, which is, whether it's MMA, whether it's bullfighting, whether it's, going out into the middle of the desert and going on Walkabout and, like finding ways to get uncomfortable and, things that really your mind, I guess, is probably the best place to start, where it goes, this is probably not the best idea. And it's like letting that go and then dropping yourself into that space. I'm curious on what your thoughts are around, I guess, just because we touched on this, sort of came from the coming of rights, coming of age, society and its relationship with us not having, I guess, disenfranchising this coming of age stuff, like disenfranchising our masculinity is what I really want to say. So I'm not sure why I'm not saying that. Yeah.
It's a well, I guess that comes down to the real, like what they say, the synthetic masculine or the authentic masculine. I think David talks a lot about this, and there's a lot of that, but a lot of that is because the average. When I grew up, once you go to pubs in Western Australia, it used to be that there's always often fights in the pubs and stuff. There's always these big, juiced up dudes, and they beat up the guys that are smaller than them, and so they could feel tough.
Yep.
And that's not being a real. They know deep down that when you're really you fight for what you believe in, and if you should fight anyone for, you shouldn't be fighting a small man. That's you trying to look for your ego and trying to get a boost because you hit someone, when you're pissed. So that was sort of the start of the real masculinity thing, is to see that, a real man has the courage to stand up for what he believes in, and a real man has the courage to go into to be vulnerable as well. I think that's the whole point, is that the synthetic masculine is that guy that especially in Australia is looking big and he's got tattoos all over him and will get in a fight. But rarely those guys have the ability to go do like a meditation retreat or sit, like I've just done it for past the last year, and some people say I couldn't sit on my own for that long in silence. And so a lot of those guys, they'll do the things that make them tough in the masculine way, but doing the other courageous things they don't have the ability to do often. So I think to be a real man, you've got to have the ability to go like do both ways, or just have, you know, even have the courage to be authentic and saying I'm scared. I think is a really big step. Like
it's that relationship with fear again, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is always with me, so and I don't know if that's that.
Yeah, so it's consistently pushing that relationship with fear. It's like, so, you know, maybe you've worked through the macho stuff and you're like, you've sort of capitalized on that as far as you can, and then it's like, what's the next thing that scares you is your vulnerability. So it's again, that's very masculine. It doesn't seem masculine to get vulnerable, but similar to what you said before, is like, it was quite obvious when you said just, I kept doing stuff that scares me. That's obviously you embracing a very masculine idea. It's like, I don't see a woman going, okay, that terrifies me, I'm going to go do that. And, you know, it's like, yeah, sweet, there's a lion, I'm going to go hunt that. You know, it's like very masculine. And then I think vulnerability is the new lion, perhaps.
Yeah, I think it really is. I think it really is like that. And I think Australian men are becoming more and more vulnerable in conversations. Actually, when I was travelling in England, I found that these English guys were quite. These are big tough guys, but they're quite open with their mates and very. I found they were very vulnerable in ways that Aussie guys weren't when I came back. And I think that's starting to change the next generation. So. Yeah, I think, and let me just quickly, because one challenge I've had when I call myself a fear coach, a lot of people are scared away by the name fear coach, because people are scared of fear. So the reason I love fear is because once you step through it, the feeling of freedom on the other side is you've created a shift for the rest of your life, and you've got the awareness that on the other side is just a freedom of restriction, you know. And I guess really the whole thing about fear is that on the other side of it is that I just hate restriction. I hate being, when I want to do something, I'm scared to do it, or I feel that restriction, whether it's in a conversation or whether it's, you know, chasing your goals or whatever. It's not a nice feeling, and often you're even unaware of it. But when you step through fear, you just feel this freedom that's really empowering, and that's really what it's all about for me, and probably the change in marketing from fear coach to freedom coach or something else to do.
I love it, because invariably, as you're sharing that, I'm aware that both things you're talking about, like as you shared that, it was just like an iteration on. Because for me, when I think anything is masculine, I think of it as freedom. So anything that's embellishing on something that's like talking about freedom, that's invariably for me, that's something masculine. If something's talking about love a lot, it's feminine, right? That's kind of like the easiest distinction that I have for the two. Both extremely vital. There's a lot of new age like masculinity, femininity, and I don't really understand a lot of it, and I try not to understand a lot of it, to be honest, because I think we're just integrated human beings, and it gets more complicated the more you try to like separate things out. But that's one thing that does help me, which is just if it's something that's calling me to freedom, there's like a masculine aspect to that. If there's something that's calling me to just love more, then that's the feminine aspect of myself. And I love that, because as you were saying that, you were just talking about how the fear was just all about like getting through restriction, which is, you know, and I think that sort of brings into exactly what the question that I had a couple of questions ago, which was like, you know, why fear? And then, you know, to freedom, why fear and this masculinity thing. And I think the idea is that basically punching through your fear is like obliterating that restriction, and that gets you out to your freedom, which is really cool, because that's, you know, rites of passage and like this whole masculinity thing. I think that's like it's a nice little linear sort of understanding of it. So that's really cool. I have to sort of just reflect on the restriction stuff as well that you just mentioned, which is really cool, because you can actually feel the physical symptoms, because I've been on this men's retreat, and you can actually feel these physical symptoms when they come up of these restrictions. It's not just, there's mental definitely, but there's physical as well. And I think that like is one of the most profound things I got out of the retreat. Like there's always this awareness that I've carried around, and I'm sure many other people do as well, is that, you know, like intrinsically there is a relationship between your mind and your body, you know, and when you come up against and you have these breakthroughs that were previously restrictions in your system, whether they were mental or physical, as soon as you break through them, yes, there's the freedom, right? But it's a very embodied freedom that you experience on these retreats with the work that you do. And I think this touches on what you were saying, which is like, it leaves a lasting impression. And so, yeah, I really am in awe, actually, of the work that we did together, and just how it did leave such a lasting impression. And actually, like, encapsulated that. Is that an intentional thing that you've cultivated in the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I think I'd probably get frustrated with myself if I don't, if there's not, I always want to get lasting change in once. One session of that. And it's probably working more, improving my skill as well. But I'm becoming more and more aware that the journey is, like, the work is the journey. Like, it's you don't almost don't want things to happen in one session, because you lose you need the ups and the downs to really have a great learning out of something and to take on the full beauty of it. So I don't appreciate how to slow down and let whatever the path is, whatever the growth is, the change is. Often too, like when you're working with people, sometimes what they think they want and what they really want are two different things.
Yeah.
And so, but yes, I mean, I think especially with fear, when you step through it, it does feel like it's you're very aware of the change when you step through it, where it's been really strong in the body, and then once you're through it, it makes a lasting impact. And you feel, I think it's always in your brain that you can be, you could say bungee jumping or skydiving. Could be 20 years later and you're going into business, but you can call on those same resources that you used to jump out of the plane to step through a fear of different kind. I just think it stays very locked in your mind because it's so strongly emotional, and the change is so instant when you step through it. So that's why I think that fear is such a powerful thing to work through. Yeah, because it's such a powerful, instantly change, and it locks there in your brain for use later on, unconsciously or consciously. Yeah.
Awesome. Can it makes more sense to do this at the end of the podcast, but it's not going to be like that. Do you have a call to action for people that like perhaps want to like butt up against a fear? Is there like an exercise to run?
An exercise run for themselves.
Yeah, that like a listener could be like, okay, cool. Out of this podcast, I could go experiment with this. Like, obviously, I have a fear around. Yeah.
If I had to put it into, well, there's first of all is to be aware. Like when I say to them, when I first work with them, I say humans are amazing time travelers. Like we are already the fact that you can go back in your mind to a past event and you feel it in your body like it's now.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something painful.
Yeah.
Humans are amazing time travelers, and we can talk about that later if you want. It's cool, but first of all, I get people to really feel it. I feel. The main reason fear is a problem is because it's such an uncomfortable emotion. You're so busy trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
That's actually what causes the problem. It's not the fear. It's that you're so busy avoiding it. You cover it up with all these other things, like you eat food or you drink alcohol or whatever you do to smother that. Yeah, it's not just fear. Any of those uncomfortable emotions.
Yeah.
The problem isn't the fear. It's that you're scared of the feeling. You're scared of feeling of fear yourself. So. One is just to be aware of it, rather than avoid it, taking time to breathe into it. And this is the difficult part, is all your body's saying is run away from this. You've got many different ways of doing that. You feel for years, as I said, eating, drinking, smoking, whatever those things are, or reading, running.
Yeah.
But number one is to feel it and just be aware of it, and rather than be scared of the feeling, be inquisitive, like, wow, my body is just, because often it's not when you're at the edge of the bungee jump that you feel the fear. You're thinking about the conversation with someone and you're already getting scared. You're not even next to the person. You're just thinking about it. You're thinking about a future event and you're scared already. So just your brain thinking is creating a feeling. But just become aware of the feeling in your body. Like, where do you feel it? What's it feel like? Is it constriction? Is it burning? Is it tightness? That's number one. Number two is I went along to a pickup course in America. And I think it's good to talk about, again, the masculine feminine thing is quite controversial in fact, but it's a very scary thing to do, to walk up to a beautiful woman and try and get in conversation, whatever, fear of rejection. And one thing I learned on this course was that you, inside your mind, you might walk into, say you walk in a bar and you see a group of really attractive girls when you speak to, inside your mind you already start to play out what you think is going to happen. And if your beliefs are limiting, you'll see yourself getting burnt out, them abusing you or turning their back on you and the whole bar laughing at you, whatever it is. And you start to feel a negative feeling already before you even go to speak to them.
Yeah.
And so what they taught you is just like, or they taught me this, I'd already done some mind work, I created this myself, but imagine it going perfectly. Just visualize it going really, really well. They love you, they think you're funny, you feel on top of the world, you're confident. And when you visualize that, you feel better in your body, and the chance of that happening is much, much higher. And I've taken that technique for so many different things, same as like into bull riding, into work with my clients. It's just that if you shift the picture in your mind, and it got me to understanding that the reason your brain is creating that negative image is to stop you getting hurt in the first place. It's only trying to protect you.
Yeah.
So if we did it for, and this isn't just for guys, girls are the same thing. I actually went on from a course on teaching girls how to be more attractive, because a lot of girls are saying, there's no good men left in this world. And I'm like, up to you to be the woman that attracts them, But to change that picture in your mind, it's not as easy to do because your brain's trying to protect you, but to shift what you see, whether it's an important business meeting, just see it going well, prepare for the worst, you expect the best, and it changes how you feel. And as a result, through law of attraction, however you want to call it, you're much more likely to have that result happen because of the feelings in your body.
So this is something I've been wanting to ask you for a while, because last time we spoke, you mentioned that when you were going to go up to Darwin to ride some more bulls, just to drop back into that energy of it, you were going to see how it worked out to try and train less, but mental train more, and see how well the visualizing stuff actually works, because obviously there's a lot of training that would go into like the conditioning that goes into riding a bull, and staying alive. But yeah, I've been meaning to ask you for a while, like, how did that serve you? Like because we've just talked about visualization, actually seeing this stuff, like getting curious about it instead of getting constricted about it, and just allowing yourself to see it unfold the way you want it to unfold, and allowing yourself to like ease into that, and then perhaps allow that to give that more potential to become your reality. Did you run that exercise, and how did that go with the bulls?
Yeah, so this is my experience is that bull riding is an amazing teacher, because there's so much emotion. And so what I found was leading up to say a week before a ride, you're already starting to get a bit nervous when you think about it. And with practice, if you ride enough bulls, that goes away. Well, it doesn't always go away. You've got to learn to harness it better. But
you get your tools developed.
Yeah, but with that week leading up, unless you are really committed, you'll just find ways to distract yourself from doing the mental work. Because when you close your eyes, you see yourself getting your back broken or becoming quadriplegic or, getting smoked. And so your brain doesn't want to see that because it feels bad, so you find ways to distract yourself. So there's two ways that I found work for this. One is I was reading Alan Watts's The Way of, I think it's called The Way of Tao or The Way of Zen or something like that. You might know the book, but I was reading that, and basically the whole way of the Zen Buddhism is just like, there's no bad or good, it's just, it is. And so one bull ride, I was really quite nervous before the ride, but I went through the book and I said, okay, to feel the nerves, it's not bad or good, it's just, it is. So experience it, be okay with it. Be okay with this turmoil inside yourself. And John Jones, who was a light heavyweight champion in UFC, used to say, before he won the title, he said, all my butterflies are aligned, which is the butterflies in your stomach. He says that people get scared of that feeling, but that's actually the most powerful resource we have as humans, is that feeling of what might be anxiety. It just depends how you want to frame it. And so rather than you let that consume you, feel it, and just assume that it's guiding you towards something positive rather than trying to pull you back from something negative. That was number one. Number two was, because the emotion is so strong in those moments, I found the only way you can visualize correctly, you'll actually, and anyone at home can do this right now, that if they've got a business meeting ahead of them or something they're nervous about, you can try and visualize how you want it to go, but if the emotion's very strong, it's really difficult to do. It's actually really difficult to be positive. And I learned this working with weight loss clients, doing hypnotherapy, that in the very first session, I'd say, first of all, let's visualize how you want to be. And in that first session, they literally couldn't do it. They couldn't visualize themselves in it. And through the way my brain works, I was wondering, why would the brain do that? Why would the brain not want you to focus on what you want? I think it comes from, there's a belief system there that if I'm skinny, then maybe there's some negative association with that. Either there might be an abuse in the past, or there might be negative associations that skinny girls are all bitches, or whatever the mental mindset is. And same with bull riding. It's like, why would my brain not want me to see me winning? Because there's a strong belief system that if you get on that bull, there's a good chance you're going to get hurt. And so I'm just trying to protect you, yeah. And I guess it's maybe a big teacher in all the lessons, the work I do now, is that find gratitude for the restriction you've got in your life, because it's just trying to help you. It's just trying to help you. And once you can love it, once you can love the reason why it's helping you, it'll work with you in a way you want to direct it. But and this is something I really want to. I'm sorry for talking a lot, but I just say
there is no you talking a lot. You're here to talk. Freedom, please.
You were at Jeff Slater's event, and I went along to his 6-month coaching program, sort of spiritual coaching, I guess you call it.
Yep.
And he's really, really good at what he does, very intuitive. And the one thing he taught me on that 6 months that stood out the most was, and I think it's from NLP Marin, he says, the most powerful way to make change in yourself is to love the parts of you love to leave. And the way I say it, a different way to people is to love the parts of you effing hate.
Yeah.
Because every day, the challenges you've got in your life, you think are, whatever the problem it is, whether it's, with relationships, whether it's work, going to a job you hate, whatever it is, there's parts of you, particularly you're saying to yourself, I'm so lazy, I'm so cowardly, I should speak to the boss, or I'm not driven enough. You say there's nothing, but much nasty than that normally. It's really like, you're an idiot, you swear words, you're nasty to yourself inside your brain, not even aware of it. Because we're trying to, hopefully, if I'm nasty enough to myself, it'll force me to change. That's what we're trying to do. But through the work I do, and almost all the time now, I realise that all of our beliefs are created under the age of 7. The seeds planted under the age of 7, normally under the age of 4.
Which is amazing.
Sometimes in past lives and stuff too, if you believe in that sort of thing. And so I get people to go back and see that the person they're saying these really nasty words to is like a little girl or a little boy inside you, that at the time they were just doing their very best to protect themselves by creating a belief of, if I make waves, then I'm going to get in trouble, or if I get yelled at least pain in some way. And once you see that it's a little kid doing that stuff, you stop scolding them and you start loving them for, thank you so much for trying to help me. It's just a 4-year-old kid trying to help this 30-year-old man or 60-year-old man or 20-year-old girl, whatever.
Yeah.
And when you see that little person inside yourself, you're like, thank you for helping me. And what do you want? How can we help you get what you want, which is protection, and have a communication with a younger version of you, which maybe some of you might see a bit far out, but it's inside all of us. All these.
Well, this is the most grounded version I've ever understood of the inner child. So you're really helping a lot here. So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just come through practice of and you really can. You have conversations with those younger versions of yourself, and we all have many voices in our heads.
Yeah.
Just it's normal. It's natural to have these different states of ourselves, and once you can, it seems so wishy-washy, but love yourself, love the thing you think is the problem, and the intention behind it. Why would a part of you be holding you back? Ask yourself that question again and again. Why would that part of me be cowardly? Why would that part of me be, lazy? And rather than say it's a bad thing, just with an honest question, why would that happen? And you get down to the base of that, there's some sort of protection there, and love the protection, love the reason why you're doing it, and then you're just shifting it to the energy to, well, it's not quite working now. Like, you're doing your best to help me, but now it's actually holding you back. Let's work together to, this is what I want, how can you make this happen? Yeah.
Yeah, wow. There's a lot in that. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, the under the age of seven thing. That's been well, science, like actually science has been exploring that, and there's been a couple of papers that I've read which are really interesting. And it demonstrates that actually, because humans, we grow out, like we pop out of the womb, because size is basically what limits us, like the physicality of it. But emotionally and mentally, we're still like in this womb-like state, which is, they've discovered that because up until about the age of between 5 and 7, it starts switching off gradually for different people, but you're still predominantly in this delta wave state. Right, so you've got alpha,
Wow.
beta, delta waves, right? And so that you're still in this delta wave state, which is your hypnosis state. So when you're going into a state of hypnosis and people are helping you sort of shift things, it's because you're dropping back into a delta state. And you're more suggestible, you're more open, you're more ready to let things go. But you actually are predominantly in that state up until the age of between 5 and 7 is when it starts switching off for people. Like the alpha starts generating, the beta starts generating, and you start switching into these different stages. And so, yeah, that was, but the way you describe that emotionally, like there's things that have like, they've perhaps something happened in an interaction, you sort of like took that on, like, I've heard stories about this, but I never really like it never really crystallized until the way you just described it is like, like a kid starts crying because its parents are arguing and the parents stop arguing, and then that becomes like the kid's default. As soon as the parents start crying, it's like, okay, the parents start arguing, it's like, I'll just start crying because it'll maintain peace at home, and it's like you're taking these things on unconsciously in this like hypnosis like state, and it just,
Yeah.
and those things embed in the future. Yeah, very, very interesting. Even more interesting, I feel though, which is where I want to go, is like, because you mentioned this, it's like, talking about going back to the age of 7, and then you also mentioned like there are people that are, 70, and they haven't had this verification of, you are now a man, and you mentioned this like, that you believe humans are really amazing time travelers, and that's very intriguing. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I think just through practice, there's an amazing Alan Watts speech where he's talking about the Buddhist philosophy that um, you go through different lifetimes. You get to a point of meditation where you can go into a sleep like state,
Yep.
and you live out a lifetime in your sleep. So 70 years in your sleep, and so he says that the first few weeks you're going to go just live all the pleasures of life, which is sex and money and power and
Power,
wealth or whatever you
yeah.
want to do. Yeah, and then it gets boring. And so then you go and, well, have a little bit more adventure. Well, what's more exciting now? So you go be the dragon slayer for the princess, or go fight in war and be the champion of, or gladiator or whatever it is, climbing Everest. Um, and after a while, that too gets boring. And so you say, well, this next dream I'm going to be really adventurous, and I'm going to go into the dream and not know what it is. And when I'm in it, I won't know I'm dreaming. And he said that dream is your life right now, and when you die, you wake up. Yeah.
That's like
Um,
my favorite parable from him. Like it's
yeah.
just, yeah, I love dropping that on people. Thank you. You were way more eloquent than I am. This is amazing.
Well, the thing I relate that to is that Elon Musk had a question asked him about simulation theory, which
Yeah.
and I feel like this is the same. It's the same thing. I guess I describe it as the nerdy view of the same thing, which is Elon Musk said, there's a 1 in a billion chance we are the base reality. It's like
Yeah.
we play Grand Theft Auto or The Sims, and
Hmm.
maybe we are The Sims and someone else playing us, the giant eye in the sky, and God
Yeah.
is on the Xbox controller. So, but the way he said it in such a relaxed way that
Yeah.
909 million out of a billion chances are that we are somewhere in that
Yeah.
top to
In that
bottom level.
spectrum of we're in a simulation. I was just having this chat
Yeah.
yesterday, but yeah, go on. Yeah.
But the way in such a relaxed way,
Yeah.
it would have scared me at the start. That's not just what scares me. It made me realise that for him, it doesn't matter if we're the guy playing GTA or we're being played.
Mm.
This is your video game. Like, this is your reality to create, and he sees the world that way. So I'm just going to crush it. I'm going to make the world, and I truly think he wants to make the world a better place. So whether he might be somewhat psychopathic in some of the ways, or less empathetic in the way that he needs to be that to get the things done he does. So
Yeah.
um, so I think that he just sees the world in a way that, this is my video game almost. So whether I'm playing it or being played, I'm going to enjoy or make what I want to make. And for me, that's not really my purpose. My purpose is like, I'm going to enjoy life. Like, whether I'm playing the game or being played, you can be scared by it or just live the crap out of it. Like, have heaps of fun, really enjoy it, share love, be around people you want to be around, have heaps of fun, and I've probably don't live it enough. Often you see, like when you see Hollywood stars in particular, they talk about they see life as like a game. Like it's like I almost live my life as a video game. Like see challenges as a fun, boss you got to challenge it to get to the next level. Like see your challenges as fun rather than it's a challenge in a way and it's got to be bad and I've got to hurt and yeah. My train of thought there.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Isn't it interesting? Like, the word game automatically just ensues the word, like the energy of fun in it. It's like if it's a game, it's automatically fun. I find that really intriguing. There's very similar to this simulation theory and what Alan Watts has said. Like, I find this fascinating, right? Is some people may know that the Hadron Collider, where they in Switzerland. So it's like it's the size of many football fields, underground, and it's like it's way more scientific than the way I'm about to put it, but it's like a circular tube, right? And they basically fire electrons in opposite directions, right? And then they accelerate them as they fire, and then they collide at the other end, right? And they did this thinking that if they could make two electrons hit each other, like the chances of that happening are already quite remote because like opposites the size of an electron, but if they can nail that, then they smash that open when they collide, and then you can find the smaller particles that make up our existence, right? So amazing machine. And what happens is when they smash it, this is where the discovery of quarks and stuff came from, like all these smaller particles, and they call it the God molecule and stuff. But anyway, they smash these things together, and they've noticed that like these constellations open up of particles, right? And as they open up these constellations, as the constellations of the stars above, it's there's black holes.
Wow.
That open up. And by definition, a black hole is infinite. So it's this really weird tripped out. So when I first heard about this experiment, and I'm like, so what's stopping me from being in someone's Hadron Collider black hole universe experiment? Like, there's a couple of big dudes in suits that we decided to call God.
Absolutely. I think it's it. I think that is actually it. Like I went to this course about other realms, and I've never had the opportunity to really physically embody that understanding of it.
Yeah.
But to me, it just doesn't matter anymore. I think like I just have got this feeling that when I die, I'm just going to wake up and just laugh. Like, oh, that's right. I'm never going. I should be going to sleep now.
That dream was intense.
I don't know, but I think we'll be like an octopus creature or something. Who knows? Or maybe we'll get them spirits, and we've made agreements with each other, and you and I have made an agreement in that life that we're going to come together and this will be our relationship together. And I've also made an agreement with people that hurt me, and we're friends. But I said we're going to go to the bottom, and I'm going to hurt you, but only so you can get that lesson.
Yeah.
And then when we finish up, but who knows? Like,
yeah, there is something I really want to touch on, but I'll get to that in just a sec. I'll make a quick note of it. And there's this guy, David J. Brown, and we're friends. And he's written a few books, and he ran this really cool experiment. His partner is equally as out there as he is, and they go to sleep together. And they've been working a lot on lucid dreaming. And their intention for a long time has been to try and meet each other in a lucid dream together. And I remember about 6 months ago, they had this breakthrough where it was like they saw each other in the same topography, same landscape, and they saw each other in the lucid dream. And so just what you shared about, like we may be dreaming, I don't know, but it's sort of, I definitely found it mentally stimulating to sort of be like, if we are a dream and we do have these relations, like maybe we just had the intention, like maybe I was meant to meet Niall, and like before I went to sleep, it was like, I'll see you in the lucid dream, and then that's how we connect, and it's like, boom, here we are. And it's like, I forgot that I set that intention. But yeah, this brings to to the fore, a conversation I think is really pertinent, which is just the idea of death and fear, because I personally don't feel a fear of death, but there is a fear prior to death, if I may, because it's a mystery. Like, life is a mystery to me, and that's my understanding of it. So it's like when I die, that is the next unfolding of the next stage of the mystery. There is a curiosity about it, but in terms of whether there's a fear around it, I'm not so sure. But there is a fear, just precisely, just like a hair before it, which is, what about all the regrets that I may have? Yeah. So I actually fear the regrets, and I think I'd love to have that conversation with you, because those regrets sound a lot like the restrictions that you're talking about. Like, had I not had these restrictions, why would it would be unlikely that I'd have these regrets. So if I was playing this game like Elon Musk was, then perhaps there'd be more freedom, and then the fear of the regrets before death would dissipate.
Okay. So there are two things. So there's two things here. Like, when I'm taking people back to resolve their challenges, the most important thing is to realise that when you go back, okay, so what I've learned about guilt is this. What I think about guilt is, when you're feeling guilty, you are sending out a message to the universe, like, I'm hurting myself, whether it's God or the universe, look how much I'm hurting myself, have I made up now for the pain I caused someone else, or for the fuck up I did, yeah? That's in my opinion, that's what guilt is almost like. I guess the real purpose of it is to stop you making the same mistake again. But you could live for a whole lifetime and never let go of the guilt. You hold on to it, and it eats away at you because you don't want to. I mean, in honesty, what I think I learned is that you've got to, say for example, someone passes away, and you were an arsehole to them before they passed away, and I had an experience like this. And you don't have the chance, you wish you hadn't said those things that they said, and they're gone, and you can't say sorry.
Yep.
So I can live guilty for the rest of my life, and I can literally eating myself on the inside without emotion.
Yep.
You actually put yourself sickness through emotion. Or I can, and again, I can say the word sorry, even someone in the world, I can say the word sorry, but I don't really mean it. It's just because I'm scared of getting hurt by you being angry at me, so I'll say sorry, but really just words. So the only real way you can resolve it is to act sorry. That is, if someone's looking down on you or they're with you, you've got to actually, rather than say the word sorry, act sorry. That is, never make that mistake again.
Yep.
And if you can honestly embody that, you let go of the guilt. Because if I put it this way, if you go back to a time that you made a mistake, and I'll do my best to see if you can find one in your minds. Is there one in your mind you can think of? Is there one regret you can think of in your mind? Don't say what it is, but is there one you can think of? Not even good.
There's a sea of them. Getting on this podcast and this moment now is I'm kidding. I regret. Yeah, sure, got one, totally.
Okay, so see in your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, be interested that you can feel something in your body just by you thinking about a past event. It's gone. And you're actually feeling something in your body, yeah?
Yep, it's sternum.
Cool. Breathe into it, just be aware of it. And here's the thing. At that moment, you made a choice in your life, okay? Now, based on everything you knew at that time, or the resources you had, but most importantly, because of what you were feeling at the time, you made a choice, and that choice now you're unhappy about. But if you go back into that age, Amrit, he made the choice for a number of reasons. He knew certain things. He doesn't know what you know now. He doesn't know he was going to hurt people the way, I'm guessing, whatever it was, you know. He doesn't know all the things afterwards. He just knew everything up to that point. And he felt the feelings in his body. It might have been stress, it might have been anxiety, it might have been desire for popularity, whatever it was. He might be happy for reasons why, but there was definitely a strong feeling inside him. Based on all that, that's why he made that choice. And you might think now, oh, it's easy looking back, he should have made something different. And he might have even known inside himself he should have made something different, but he wasn't to know until afterwards when the ramifications came to the fore that was going to be what it was, yeah. So you can hate the shit out of him. You can keep yelling at him for the rest of your life and say you're an idiot, you're a dickhead, you're selfish, whatever the words are, but it's gone. So instead, say, okay, you made a mistake. You know now you made a mistake. If you hadn't made the mistake, I wouldn't be the man I am today. Because I wouldn't know how to love as deeply as I do today. I wouldn't know how to connect as deeply as I do today. There's lots of reasons that you can look back and be grateful for that mistake you made because it's made you a better man. Because if you weren't feeling good in the first place, you wouldn't improve yourself. If you weren't regretting it in the first place, you wouldn't have made changes in your life so you never do that again, or so you enhance your life. So the secret here is to letting go of the emotion might be as quick as we can do right now, but finding gratitude, the key word is finding. How can I find just one little thing that's positive? If there's 99 things that are wrong, just one little thing that's positive from it and put all your attention on that. Like, well, okay, it's maybe more loving or more caring or a better connection, or I've got better friends, or I'm more aware of myself. There's something that you can get out of it. And now it's a choice for you, okay, I'm really let go of the negatives. I know I fucked up, but it's done. The past is done, yeah? So all I do is take the positives from it and appreciate it. Appreciate what I've gained from that. And that's the big part of letting go, finding gratitude for that past mistake and realising that if it wasn't that mistake, you wouldn't be where you are today. You might not have met the love of your life. You might not have, who knows what would have changed. So, and if we were doing a session, we'd explore a bit more and make sure all the emotion is gone. But that's really the basis of it. It's trusting that regret is just something inside your mind, but in fact, there's always something positive to come out of those negative events if you go looking for them. And yeah, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's something that definitely resonates the way you approach that, especially for me, because my faith is that of a seek, and seek means to learn. So it was easy to, once I sort of started looking for the lessons in it, to express gratitude, because it was like, that's a lesson, that's a learning. Of course, my faith is to learn, so I'm very grateful that I got to learn something from it. So that part of it was easy. But I think scanning for how it enabled me to love deeper was an interesting one, because it actually felt like I had committed something which had then had the repercussion of me shutting me off to people, and then that was interesting, because what came out on the other end of it was, no, I just learned to honor other people's processes more. So I'm grateful that I have more respect for other people's process. So it was interesting, because I was looking for how that opened me up, but it was like, no, it's more about respecting others, and that's the lesson that you've got. So that was cool, and I feel much better about the whole thing as a general already. So yeah, very, very insightful, and yeah, quite, yeah. I feel like I could do this myself.
Well, hopefully you can. That's and ultimately, my main teaching is that until you've done a bit of work, you don't realise that anything in your path that causes you discomfort, emotional restriction, you can clear. Even really severe trauma from the past can be cleared, actually to the point of being grateful for it. And we do a bit more deeper work for one-on-one, but to the point of you can look back at any painful event and actually be it as a happy thing. No matter how bad it was, it's actually possible. And that's the thing that people don't realise is, you can go, to the past, it doesn't affect you that much in everyday life. You do not realise how often traumas from the past are affecting you today in the way you think, in the way you speak, in the way you see people. And by letting things go from the past, you again, the freedom that you create inside yourself to be authentic and be yourself is really powerful. So if there's one message I want to get to the listeners, is that you can clear past trauma, and it's important to. You don't realise the importance until you've done it once to see how much it affects you in your day-to-day life. Because you think, how does it affect you now? So hard to think about it, but everything you do is a slight reflection of it. The thought can come up, your beliefs about people, your trust in people, So it can make these changes.
Yeah, so it's interesting
Yeah.
because you keep the lesson from it, but you release the emotion of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep your positives and let go of the external emotion, because the emotion's there to protect you, but if you hold on to too long, it starts to restrict you in parts of your life, hold you back from chasing dreams or meeting people you want to be or whatever. Yeah. Mm.
Awesome.
And the other thing I was going to say while we're on the subject,
Yep.
if you can tap into that feeling of, you said there's a fear before death, that fear before death and regret.
Yep.
If you can tap into that as a motivator, I know that if you're scared of it, you can feel it. This might be off the podcast, but if we do it very quickly, find a way to tap into the feeling you get when you think about that hair's width before the death. Find that feeling of regret. Rather than be in restriction, how can I use this as almost like an energy below me to push me forward? Yeah,
it's huge.
But it's actually very powerful, because I find it difficult to do. Most people do, to realise their mortality, because you notice very successful people are very aware of it. They're like, I've got no time to get to which is maybe a positive and negative to that. But if you can use that regret or potential regret as a fuel, well, if I don't want to regret it, what can I do now? And also, you've got to be aware that I think a lot of the people who are really successful are losing out a lot of life too, because they're getting driven by the negatives, fear of negatives.
There's a balance in there for sure. Yeah. So mitigate the regret, but also stay in balance with the harmony of your body and your spirit and all that as well. Yeah, I love that. There's a lot of energy there, to be honest. As you sort of said, feel into that. I can sort of feel it in my gut. Just this, an awesome drive. Yeah, brilliant. Ah, man, love your work. Absolutely in awe of it all. So I think I'd love to sort of have a chat about gratitude, and like I don't know how else to put it. I mean, or a lot of things in this podcast, yourself included, but gratitude is I'm just how it serves to heal so much. This simple emotion, thing, task, action. I know it sounds kind of like I'm having a really wishy-washy conversation with you right now, but like it's when I tune into, like, one of my favorite conversations was one that Tony Robbins has, and he's coaching this guy through his anger stuff, and I've used this so many times for so many of my clients. Where it's like, just run the simple exercise, like, okay, like, I've got anger issues. Cool. Okay, what are you angry about? Yeah. Can you feel it? Yeah. Embodying it? Yeah. Okay, give me something you can be grateful for, like just one thing that you're grateful for today. And it's like, oh yeah, today I got, like, had this, whatever. Let's just say they had a really awesome experience or a really awesome exchange with someone. And then start feeling into their gratitude, and it's like, I was like, yeah, can you feel it? Can you embody it? Yeah, cool, awesome. Okay, how are you feeling now? Really good, really grateful. Yeah, really grateful. And I'm like, yeah, cool. It's like, so what was that thing that made you really angry? And then I was like, oh, yeah. And they'll go back into that. And you can literally just sway them in and out of their anger, just in and out of their anger. You can, what were you thinking about? Oh, cool. Yep. Anger. And then, oh, tell me something to be grateful for. Tell me about your anger again. Oh, man. And it's like, tell me about something you're grateful for. Oh. And it's like just watching them. And then eventually the penny drops, and it's just like, oh, I'm in control of what I'm focusing on, and where my attention goes, my energy flows. And it's like, you just run the simulation a few times, and they totally, like, the penny drops in for them. And like, just like, I'm just in awe of what gratitude is. Because for those that do want to go woo woo, I like listening into The Secret and stuff like that. It's also a, like, obviously it has this emotional state, but gratitude is also designed as a prayer. So every time you're grateful for something, on a subconscious level, you're asking for more of that. Because if I'm not grateful for it, it's like, if Niall, like, if you hand me, like, let's say a vegan protein bar that's absolutely delicious, and you hand it to me, and it's like, yeah, wicked, like, this is awesome, and I have it, and I just consume it. There's lack of gratitude. If maybe you're a really nice guy and you'll continue giving me another one the next time you come across them. But if you hand it to me and I'm super grateful for it, it's like, dude, this is my favorite thing ever. Like, yeah, next time you go to the shops, you'll be like, fuck, Amrit really loves these things. I might grab him one. you know, and like it automatically works as a prayer for more. Like that's a very visceral, literal example of it. But every time you're giving thanks, you're asking for more of the thing that you love anyway. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of awesome.
It's amazing on so many. The thing that told me about gratitude was the book, The Magic, which is the speak. One of the other books that Ron the Bird wrote, the lady wrote The Secret. So, if anyone is feeling in any way down or out, go buy this book. And it's a 30-day. You do a different gratitude practice every day.
Yep.
It's quite intense. So most people who listen to this won't finish it, but go buy the book and see. It changed my life for sure. So. The first thing was already I was doing the 5-minute journal, which is a really cool app. I don't know if you know about it, but look up the 5-minute journal. Just 5 minutes a day, we just write down 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things that will make the day awesome, and then a few affirmations. I am affirmations. You do it in 2.5 minutes a day, in the morning, 2.5 minutes at night, like what we're talking about today. I was doing that beforehand. I was just writing down things I'm grateful, which is good. It's focusing on the good things, but the magic taught me to feel and say thank you for them. Literally, vocally say thank you. So I can say I'm grateful for, the thing is when you get, what magic told me is you're grateful for a cup of coffee or grateful for a shelter on your head, over your head. The world becomes so easy when you're grateful for the real little things, but when big things happen, it's like, it's bad or good, it's easy. Because I've still got shelter, I've still got food in my belly, like, especially from me or us in Australia. So the principles are that you can write down thank you, but stop and actually feel it is the secret. So feel it in your chest. So I would always just write down little things like I'm gonna have a coffee on the way to work, and I already am enjoying the flavour of it before I even got it in my hand. I'm excited to have it, and I feel good now, and I haven't even got the coffee yet. I'm feeling good now, I haven't got it yet, yeah. And when you can stop and be like, there's no rain on me right now because I've got a roof over my head. And you just to think about people in Syria or wherever where they're in refugee camps and, wow, I'm lucky. And actually feel, rather than be guilty that you live here, be, okay, I've got this in front of me, thank you. Wow, thank you. Like, I'm not wet right now, I'm not cold, I've got food in my belly. So that book is amazing. It taught me a few things. One is the feeling part. Mm-hmm. The second part it taught me is that appreciate the really little things that makes the big things easy, right? And then it taught me to, this is actually a big part of the work I do now, is appreciate challenges. When you can get to the point of, it's easy to look back in the past on things that at the time felt like a failure, and now you're like, I'm happy that happened because it's a success or it taught me. But to teach you to be grateful for the challenge in the moment, like as you're going through it, it's challenging.
Yeah.
But like if you're going through a difficult relationship, how can I actually be grateful for this now? Almost put yourself in the future 2 years and think back, how would I actually, in the future, how would this be a good thing for me? So it's really, that changed my life, that book, The Magic, and it's a big part of the work I do.
Rhonda Bird.
By Rhonda Byrne, yeah.
Bird,
highly recommend it.
B-U-R-N.
Byrne, yeah. I don't think it's got an S on it. B-Y-R-N-E.
B-Y-R-N-E.
I don't think it's got an S at the end, but it could do.
Yeah.
Not Burnsy. Yeah, but good book. Yeah. And it's a happiness switch. It can change your life. It can change negatives into positives. And so I recommend to anyone, if you're going through a low time, if they can commit to just 5 days of 30-day practice and really commit to it, it can change your life. 100%.
Yeah, cool. I think this leads into a conversation that I want to have with you, just like a personal one. So this is great that we've got the space and the platform and the time to do this. Books, bro. Books, like just how, like, let's just nerd out for a moment on books. Like, how amazing is it that there's these little, I look at them as little capsules, like time capsules almost, of like just someone's theory, ethos, philosophy. Like we both share like an avid passion and love for Alan Watts. And his audio is amazing, but his books are like a whole nother, like it's literally like a black hole opens up and you just end up in this whole nother universe. And like, I'm in awe of just how much we can take on and learn, just the wisdom of someone just going, yep, I'm just going to write this down to share with someone, and it may benefit them in some way, shape, form or other. I just want to froth on books for a moment with you.
The first thing that comes to mind for me is like the courage it takes to write a book, hey?
Yeah.
Because my mum's an artist, and I always used to get quite upset because she has really nice paintings, and I said, well, why don't you do like exhibitions? And she said, when you do an exhibition, it's like bearing your soul for the world to look at.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that at the time. But same with a book or music, like it takes a lot of courage to write down, especially if it's a really vulnerable book to write down stuff. Because people are going to challenge it, people are going to say you're a dickhead, or who are you to say this stuff? And
Yeah.
so it takes a lot of courage to write one in the first place. So like I'm always like deeply grateful for anyone who writes just to have the courage to go do it in the first place. But I think I'm a book addict in a way that I probably don't use them enough. Like if I should be taking notes on the books I read and like listen to audios and writing stuff down to really put it in my brain. But it's a good addiction to have compared to like many other things it could be.
Yeah.
So I've got literally hundreds of audiobooks, and then I've got my Kindle on my phone and stuff. So I've probably got another maybe 110 there, maybe half of them are unread, and then my cupboard are full of them. But it's such a nice thing, especially when it's having a paperback to take it out. I love going to the bush with a book.
There's this really amazing book I'd love to sort of get your way eventually. My brother Grant has it, and actually I'd love for you to meet Grant because he grew up in a town that they did rodeos, and he's just got such a passion for it. But he's never really rode a bull himself. But I can just feel that you two would really connect really well. But he's got this book called The Red Chief by Ion Idris, and it's like I took it with myself to Brazil, and it was just this amazing book. It encapsulates Australia, and this Ion Idris was one of the first people that went and lived with the Indigenous when the Western man made contact with the Indigenous in Australia. And the way he describes the Australian fauna and flora and the way the Indigenous hunt, it's like poetry, but like in a book. So it's absolutely amazing and really phenomenal. That particular book, I'd love to get your way. And for those listening, this Niall's obsession for audiobooks is definitely one I just realized as you were sharing that. I remember coming back from the men's retreat, and like I was always a reader. Like I always read like hardback, softback, and I never really like was much into audios. Like I'd listened to a few audios. I was definitely consuming podcasts at the time, but never really audio books. And at that point, the only audiobook I think I had at the time was Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. And I kept listening to that again and again and again and again because every time it was like a flower. It just kept opening up the more and more times I listened to it. So it was good to live in there audially. But I was driving back with you, and then you had this audiobook on 2 times the speed. and I just remember looking over at you, and you're like, "Yeah, I love it. Like rapid learning, I love it." And there's just something so visceral about just like getting it in and getting it in good and fast. and it like it's amazing because I just realized like I've been working my way up to like 2, like because I've been listening to so many audiobooks at the moment. I didn't realize why I was consuming them so fast. And this lack of patience. Sometimes I was like, why is there a lack of patience? I'm just gonna get it in. And I just realized where the seed of that came from. It was from you. Listening to a book twice. I'm not up to 2 times the speed. I listen to them 1.5, and it's good because I can still listen and comprehend and still take it all in. But it's an amazing practice. To the point where I think what you touched on was really important as well, is that, you know, it's when you get into that practice of like reading and listening to so much amazing content, because like you said, people have courageously put out their souls and you can learn so much from another soul, the wisdom that is there. It's important. What I've come to realize is like strike a balance between like input and output. You know, for me, what's happened is like if I take on like heaps of books, sometimes I like just drown under like all this content that I've consumed, and it's like, what was the point in learning all of this if there's nothing being reciprocated? And for me, that's where like it's a really healthy profession to be a coach, a really healthy profession to be a trainer, because it's like, okay, like I get to take this on, and this informs the work that I do, and then like you can share from that space, and like it gives all your input a really valuable output where people are supported by it, people see value in it, you're obviously reimbursed for it. But yeah, that was a massive breakthrough for me, because I was consuming everything at like just consume and not putting it out, and then realizing that it's probably not the healthiest thing. I think you touched on that a little bit as well.
Yeah, I think so. You're exactly right. Well, I say the best way to learn something too is to teach it afterwards. So I think, yeah, it is. It's actually that's what Jeff Slater was saying too. It's a great profession. You just work through your own stuff and solve their problems too, all at once. You know, like, but yeah, it's a great way to, and I just love learning. So it makes it a, you know, I've got to learn my job. Just have to do it.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's a great way to